Welcome back to EduCommerce Plus. Dear students, today I will discuss about the new chapter planning of class 12 business studies. First of all, I will discuss about the introduction about this chapter. Planning is the first important function of management. It is the process of deciding in advance what to do and how to do it. It involves setting up of objectives and developing an appropriate course of action to achieve these objectives. It acts as a bridge or it bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. That is, it acts as a connecting link between present and the future. It is clearly connected with the creativity and innovation. The next I will discuss about the steps in planning process. What are the different steps or process of planning? The first important step in planning process is the setting up of objectives. Every organization can have their own objectives. All the individual objectives are directed towards the achievement of common goal of that organization. Every organization should have certain objectives that may be set for the entire organization, and each department or unit within the organization and should be stated clearly. For example, the total business growth that may be increased as compared to last year. The business manager want to increase that profit volume by 20%. So that for that goal directed behavior, all the activities are done depending upon that objective. The second important step in planning process is the developing planning premises. Planning premises are the assumptions about the future, assumptions of the businessman about the future. That means the business manager can have their own assumptions for that means achieving the above set, that means achieving the setting objectives. Okay, identified objectives. The third important step in planning process is the identifying alternative course of action. Once the objectives are set, the assumptions are made, all the alternative course of action should be identified. That means, in order to select a suitable decision or choose a better decision, before that the business manager has to have to identify what are the alternative courses for among them the business manager choose a better one. Okay, best one the business manager choose among that alternative. So first of all, they want to identify what are the different alternative course of action. Okay, next, the fourth important procedure, evaluating alternative course of action. After identifying the alternative course of action, the next step is to find out the pros and cons of each alternative. Pros and cons means positives and negatives. So the business manager consider that pros and cons aspects of each proposal that need to be evaluated in the light of the objective to be achieved. Okay. The next, selecting an alternative. This is the real point of decision making. Hence, the business manager choose a best plan to be adopted and implemented among that large number of identified alternatives. Then next important step is implementation of plan. The next step is concerned with the putting planning into action. For example, if there is a plan to increase production, the business manager want to appoint more labor and good quality and machinery also better, that means large number of machineries they want to use. So everything they plan in a better manner, then only that objective they can achieve. Next, the last important procedure or step is the follow up action. In this stage, the business manager have to see whether the plans are being implemented well and the activities are performed according to schedule. Monitoring the plan is equally important. So all these are the main important steps in planning process. Next, I want to discuss about the features of planning. What are the important characteristics or features of planning? The first important characteristic or feature of planning is planning focuses on achieving objectives. Planning has no meaning unless it contributes to the achievement of predetermined organizational objectives. That is, planning is generally mean where, when, why, who, how, what. All these, that is where he want to go, when the activities are they want to start, why, who will do that, how they do that, what are the alternative sources, everything deciding in advance by the manager. Then secondly, planning is the primary function of management. Planning lays down the base or foundation for other functions of management, that is, planning procedures. Planning precedes other function. This is the primacy of planning. Planning precedes other functions. This is named as the primacy of planning. The next, planning is pervasive in nature. Planning is required to all levels of management as well as all departments of the organization. The top management undertakes planning for the organization. Middle management does the departmental planning. The day-to-day operating planning is done by supervisors. Okay, so everything, in case of student, monthly test, weekly test, everything, the business, the teachers will plan. Then student also will get that means prepare a plan about the monthly test, weekly test, like that. That means quarterly exams, like that. So that is named as that is also considered as a planning in that means student's life. Okay. The next, planning is continuous process. Planning is a continuous process. Plans are prepared for a specific period of time, maybe for a month, quarter, or year. After that, a new plan to be drawn up. For example, plans for a financial year. After the end of that financial year, the next plan the business manager have to develop. In case of schools, plans for academic year 2019-20. After that, 2020-21, that plan also they want to develop. Okay. So that is known as planning is a continuous process. Continuously the business manager do that. Okay. Next, planning is futuristic. Planning is generally made through forecasting. The purpose of planning is to meet the future events effectively to the best advantage of an organization. That is why we say that planning is forward looking. Planning is forward looking. For example, sales budget of an organization. That's a forward looking process. Next, planning involves decision making. If there is no alternative course of action or there is only one possible goal or one possible course of action, there is no need for planning. That is, planning involves selection of a suitable course of action from large number of alternatives. For example, planning to raise fund. Large number of alternatives are there. Banking institution, that means loans and advances. Otherwise, borrowed from any other institutions like ICICI, IDBI, IRBI. Large number of organizations are there. Otherwise, debt capital or that means borrowed fund or debt capital, or otherwise equity, or that means by issue shares, like that. So everything the business manager may take into consideration. Next, planning is a mental exercise. Planning requires logical and systematic thinking rather than guesswork or wishful thinking. For example, for preparing sales budget for the next year, the business manager has to analyze last year's data. That means past. I already said past the data also to be taken into account for preparation of future budget. Okay. All these are the main important points specifying the features of planning. So in the next video, I will discuss about the importance of planning. Okay. Thank you for listening me. Okay. ഈ വീഡിയോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടുകയാണെങ്കിൽ പ്ലീസ് ലൈക്ക്, ഷെയർ ആൻഡ് സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ്.